The Sonoma Raceway hosted one of the most incident-filled races this season. Right from lap 1, there was something or the other going on in the race. Despite these obstacles, Kyle Busch was running a decent race, which he desperately needed. On the last lap, he was running P5 with Ross Chastain behind him. But this is when it all went to hell for Busch. On the very last lap of the race, Ross Chastain had better and faster tires. Given that it was the final lap, he was desperate to get past Busch to earn another position. But as he attempted to overtake down the inside, Chastain locked up his tires and went straight into Busch. By the time Busch was able to recover the car and cross the line, he was in 12th place and had no hopes to fight back as the race was over. After the race, he was understandably furious with Chastain. Here's what he said. "A couple of guys there at the end of the race had better tires than we did, but we were going to have a good day," Busch said. "Unfortunately, one of those guys got into us on the last lap and ruined our day. It's frustrating to not get the finish that we deserved." Kyle Busch's wife, Samantha Busch, had her own take on the incident. Given that she does have a huge following on her social media platforms, she took to X to share her thoughts. "Locked up my tires, aka overdrove the corner," she wrote while adding a gif with the words schmuck. It's clear that both Kyle and Samantha Busch blame Ross Chastain for the accident. In this case, they're right. Both Busch and Chastain have not had the best season. But things were finally looking good today. But Busch's strong performance meant nothing as he was the victim in this incident. Chastain, on the other hand, suffered no consequences and went on to take 5th place. Here's what he said after the race. "I feel like the first and second lap of the race and the last lap was the most exciting, and the rest were just making lap times besides the restart. It just feels so good to be back pressing cars and being fast, and being able to be aggressive and make speed doing it. I'm pretty confused about how the strategy worked out. I don't really know how the number 5 won and I finished 5th. I'm not sure what happened with the number 8 either. I'll be honest, I'm pretty confused about most things here. He, Busch, checked up down into 4 and I popped out and then I hit him. And then I lock up getting in there to his right. Definitely not trying to run into him." There's no doubt that Chastain was at fault for the accident with Kyle Busch, but the number 1 driver still seemed oblivious and careless about the incident. At this stage of the season, it's important for all the drivers, especially those without a win, to start performing. Busch was doing so, but he was denied a good result thanks to that incident. However, we won't deny bringing you the latest in NASCAR news, so hit that subscribe button and let us do the rest. You won't regret it. The 2024 Toyota Save Mart 350 race was looking like a strong performance for Kyle Busch. Given that the Sonoma Speedway is only one of 3 road courses in the regular season, it was critical for Busch to get the best result possible. But just as he thought he had done everything possible for a good result, all his efforts were thrown out due to the accident. The last few weekends have been incredibly tough for Kyle Busch. During the last race in Illinois, Busch's race got wrecked again, this time by Kyle Larson. At the time, Busch was once again furious with Larson, but the number 5 driver took responsibility for that incident. "No, I hadn't talked to him, but again on my end, I have no hard feelings. I don't know if he's still mad at me or whatever," Larson said. "I think I always do a really good job at looking back at accidents that I get in, and whether it be that I caused it or I didn't cause it, I still try to pinpoint what kind of fault I had in it. Yeah, I look at that one, if I didn't barely touch his quarter panel to get to a side draft, he wouldn't have gotten upset and started running into me down the straightaway, and then crowd me into turn 1. I wasn't going into 1 to race him and have a dick measuring contest. I was just trying to make it into the corner. So yeah, if I didn't touch his quarter, we would have raced just fine through 1. I look at it as probably more my fault there, but into 1 I know I'm the guy that spun, but I don't feel that part was all my fault. It's just racing, and he got frustrated, and I don't know, I'm sure he's not too frustrated with me right now." Heading to Sonoma, both the drivers had no hard feelings towards each other. Whatever had happened was in the past. A few more weeks back, Busch had a pretty major accident with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. The 2 drivers threw a few punches at each other after the All-Star race in North Wilkesboro, but Busch cannot let these things affect his mindset this season. Don't forget to check out our channel for our comprehensive coverage on the fight between Busch and Stenhouse Jr. Given that Kyle Busch is having one of his worst NASCAR seasons yet, he will want to focus on improving his racing and start getting strong and consistent results. In the last 4 races, Busch has not been able to finish in the top 10. Ever since the 2024 season started, Busch has been struggling with performance. His driving style is simply not suitable for these next-gen cars. One could say that his driving style is quite outdated. He and his crew have to reassess his approach to the race weekend if they hope to get a win this year. There are currently 9 race winners this year. This leaves only 7 or fewer spots for non-race winners for the playoffs. As it stands, Busch is 8th in the points table among the non-race winners. So if he hopes to qualify for the playoffs, he will have to either get a race win or climb up in the championship standings. Even Ross Chastain sits without a race win this season. However, he has more points than Busch in the points table, and hence has a better chance of qualifying for the playoffs. There are only 10 more races left this season, so the pressure is on Kyle Busch and Richard Childress Racing to start delivering. If they're not able to do so, Busch's future in NASCAR will be highly doubted. As it stands, RCR is looking to bring in Noah Gragson, who will be out of a seat following Stewart Haas's departure from NASCAR. Initially, it was reported that RCR would purchase one charter from SHR to accommodate Noah Gragson's spot. However, the team may just choose to replace Busch if he's not able to deliver results. This way, RCR can bring in Gragson without having to spend more money on expanding the team. So Busch's playoff chances are not the only thing at stake here. The number 8 driver could lose his career if he does not pick up the pace. Given that he's not a very popular driver among fans, we could see some sponsors pull out as well. Kyle Busch is currently 39 years old. He's been racing in the NASCAR Cup Series since 2005. There's no doubt that his driving style is getting outdated. Hence, it could be time for him to call it a career and retire. He might want to continue racing in the sport. However, none of the teams might want to have him if he's not able to perform, and if he's not able to bring any sponsors. Busch was once a very strong driver in NASCAR. After all, he did win 2 Cup Series championships with Joe Gibbs Racing. But is he the same driver? Certainly doesn't look like it. It'll be interesting to see how Kyle Busch performs for the rest of the season. The drivers will now be heading to Iowa for the next race. This weekend, the cars will be back on the oval. Although not a super speedway, it is a 7/8 mile oval track where we could see some interesting racing. Kyle Larson will be entering the race as the points leader with 3 race wins. However, he will face some challenges from his Joe Gibbs Racing and Penske. There's a good chance that we will see another Ford team winning the next race. Both of RCR drivers could have a chance at some decent points here. Coming to Kyle Busch, we've seen him perform well in ovals, so he will have a good chance of getting some points on the board to increase his chances of qualifying for the playoffs. With only 10 more races to go, do you think Kyle Busch will be able to qualify for the playoffs? Post your thoughts in the comment section below.